When it comes to, we also know obviously there is the gender gap, but there's also a universal confidence gap.
Yes.
And that's something, I guess I work a lot in that space. When it comes to women having more confidence and owning their value and putting themselves forward and speaking up and acting with the same level of assertiveness and self-belief that we see men do.
Right.
What have you seen in terms of in your career and women around you where it's their own lack of belief in themselves?
Right.
Holding them back.
Holding them back. I was just going to use those very words. We hold ourselves back. And we do it for so many different reasons. Sometimes it's that we think we've got to be perfect, and so we don't give ourselves room to move on to the next job until we really have mastered this one. Sometimes we think we don't have all the qualifications, even though a man will go for a job if he has 3 of the qualifications out of 10. A woman won't go unless she has 7.
Or 10.
Or 10.
Yeah.
So we hold ourselves to a very different standard than men hold themselves. And third, we don't model ourselves after men because we sometimes think, well, I don't want to be like that. But in fact, there's a way to be assertive without necessarily verging over onto aggressive. There's a way to stand up for yourself without putting other people down. And so women have to be able to see other women do that and recognize that worked, that didn't ostracize her. And in fact, there's behavior there that I should do, and not just in my work life. It's probably right that if you're not standing up for yourself at work, you may not be at school for your children, at home with your spouse or partner. And so it's a little like when you give a woman a cell phone for one purpose, she figures out how to empower herself for other things. So I think this is an empowering issue overall.
Across the board, the board. And I know that can come up with that imposter syndrome. I don't know if you know, where we have this fear of
being found
people
out.
Do you ever have you ever had that?
I had it big time. I was a 26-year-old press secretary in a senator's office, and I got up every morning and just prayed, no one's gonna find out today that I really don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the good part is I worked really hard and I learned a lot. And one day I looked around and thought, I guess I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it took a long time to get over it. And it actually took me till my 50s. And somebody said, Kathy, you just don't have to work that hard anymore. But working hard is what I do. But now I'm trying to work smarter and not out of that fear of failure as much as dream of success. And I think there's sometimes that it's a healthy balance to hold on to both, but not out of the imposter fear as much as it holds women back, but more out of that recognition.
What inspires.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's how much we're driven by what we're afraid of and what scares us versus what inspires us. And I know with imposter syndrome, research shows that women tend to just work really, 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 really hard to show that they really are worthy of it. Whereas sometimes men tend to avoid situations where they might be exposed as, they might realize I really don't know what I'm doing. But when it comes to women having big goals and moving toward what excites and inspires them. I mean, when you started out, your career has been extraordinary in that you've had, you've worked in media and you've worked in politics and in for-profit, but not-for-profit, obviously now at the United Nations Foundation. Did you always have a big vision for yourself, or did it sort of unfold organically over time?
I had no big vision. My only big vision was I want to be in a place where I really like the people, where I will feel meaningful work was done, and that I'm having fun. Yeah. So I think the challenge for me always was that I never could see that the next career might be in a place where a career hadn't existed before. So I remember when I went to AOL, my father said, "What the heck is that? That can't be a real business." And of course, it's changed the world. My role there was not as a technician, but as a translator. And so one thing I've looked back at is, what is it about my skill set that hasn't depended on the job I'm in per se, but is something that I've been able to use in every different job. So in politics, I translated the politician and his policies to an electorate. at U.S. News and World Report, that's the essence of journalism, is taking complex subjects and making them usable for people in their daily lives. At America Online, it was how to engage people in this brand new technology that sooner or later they would use to shop and educate themselves and connect.
They couldn't even imagine
it just was a boy toy.
Yeah.
And then coming to actually to support the United Nations, I once again thought, oh my goodness, what do I know? Well, I know how to help people understand the value of an institution that's saving lives around the world, that's making the U.S. a safer place because we're making other places more prosperous and safe. So again, it's all about translation. So for me, one of the solutions to overcoming that female fear was finding out, well, what am I good at that is actually translatable to almost everything else I do? And it turned out to be translation itself.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.